What's going on, guys? What's up, man?
What's up, Steve?
Oh, I don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, the boss man is just in circle mode. So I'm kind of excited about tonight. We're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the Colubridfest stuff that's coming up right around the corner. And we wanted to make sure that we went ahead and invited Clint in as well from Metazotic. So without further ado, what I'm going to go ahead and do is we're going to bring Clint out and we're going to go ahead and get this show on the road here. So let's see what's up.
It's showtime.
What's going on,
That
Clint?
intro, Clint.
I say, freaking loved it, man. Loved it.
I had to
That was
put a
good
little
stuff.
bit of your flavor and profile on it, a little bit of a spin.
Like to have a good time, man.
So, Colubridfest, guys. I'm kind of just the sideshow here. I'm going to let you guys kind of take the seat. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend last year, but I'm going to have to lose an appendage not to make it this year. And we got a little Colubridfest promo that I'm going to play just real quick and then let you guys kind of tear into it.
Let's do it.
What's Colubridfest?
You understand now?
Be self-Pharrell. I'll see you there.
Some good stuff, man.
Oh, yeah. I'm super excited for Colubridfest this year.
I am so stoked. I mean, I think it's going to. Year one was absolutely incredible. We know that, right? And obviously, I would say that. Mickey, you would say that. If Zach was here, he'd say that because we're the guys who dreamed this up, right? But what was so amazing to me was it wasn't us saying it at the end of last year. You know what I mean? It was everyone who was there. They're the ones that were saying it. And that was something special to me. So
I was actually holding my butt after the first Colubridfest. So it was a great time. The vibe was great. Love the educational aspects of it. But yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
No, I get it. Well, but I'll tell you this, and I've said this on our show over at Colubrid and Colubrid Radio, that Colubridfest could not have happened without you stepping in and making that happen. And you went into it knowing that you were going to take a hit to make this, what it could be. And we are so grateful for it because now we're going into year two. If Colubridfest year 2 is not 3 times the size Colubridfest year 1 was, I'm going to be floored because of the attention that how many shows get a 6-page article in Reptiles magazine because of it?
Real talk.
I mean, and here's the thing, and I've said this, and when someone asks me, well, what makes Colubridfest so special? I could walk through and I could talk about, all the nuts and bolts of what it is that makes it different. But here's the thing that I noticed. When everyone was talking about Colubridfest afterwards last year, they weren't talking about, I saw this kind of snake, or there was this there, or I kept looking at this. Because if you think about it, when we talk about shows, that's really what we're saying is, oh, I saw this. This was cool. That was cool. That's not what was being discussed. Instead, everyone was talking about how they felt when they left there. That's what made it amazing. That's what made it so different. It was a complete atmosphere, complete vibe that people left with. And PJ Cone from Handmade Herps, I think he summed it up about as simply as what it could be when he said it was like summer camp for adults, where you show up day one, everybody's a little nervous. You don't know everybody who's there, and what's this going to be like? I don't know. Am I going to fit in? But by the time you left, you're saying goodbye to lifelong friends. It was that amazing. So yeah.
And honestly, for me, I've probably been to hundreds, if not thousands, of expos, and man, I had a good time there.
Mm-hmm.
The educational talks and just getting to sit and shoot the breeze with fellow colubrid nerds. I mean, it was a great time. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, 100%. And that's kind of, it's funny, when you mention going to expos, that's one of the things I always say is I'm like, you know what? Don't think of it like an expo. This is a gathering that happens to have an expo at the end, and of course, yeah. And that expo is different than any other expo for sure. But it's everything that leads up to that makes that expo even more exciting. It's funny too, because should we walk through what Colubridfest is, how it works, what day? So, you want me to go ahead and do that, or you want to do that, or
go for it? You're a better storyteller.
So, all right. So for those who maybe you haven't heard of Colubridfest, or maybe you've heard of it, but don't know exactly what it is. It's more than just, it's a show with colubrids. No. Let's start at the beginning. Okay. First, you have Friday night. For those coming in on Friday night, we have what we call the mixer, the meet and greet. And we're going to do a few things different this year to make it even more special. But what that was an opportunity for people to just come together in the same room, those who enjoy the same things in this hobby, and talk. And now you think, there could be a bunch of introverts, so this could go real wrong, real bad. Meaning you could have people just leaning against walls and corners, not talking to anyone, or talking to that one person in the room that they knew. But no, that is not how it happened. We sat back. It was Zach, myself, and Mickey, and we looked, we watched, we had to step out, have conversations on things that were going to be taking place over the next couple days. We stepped back in, and what we noticed is while you did have groups broke off throughout the room, every time you walked back in, the groups had changed. The people in the groups had changed. So it wasn't like just these cliques that got together and went and did their own thing like what you see at some of these big shows. It was everyone was really enjoying getting to meet all these people, getting to talk to these people, getting to say hi to people that they have talked to for years on Facebook, but had never met in person. It was such a cool thing. And we heard the volume continuing to rise as the night went on, which told us they were having a hell of a time. They were having a great time. So that's Friday night. That's how it starts. Saturday. Here's the difference. Here's the thing that freaked vendors out when we first explained it to them. There are no animal sales on Saturday. What? Hold on. What? Right. No animal sales on Saturday. Why is that? Because this is not an expo. This is an event. It is an event that has an expo at the end. And on Saturday, we don't want to muddy the waters of community building and education with having to worry about your bottom line, having to worry about a sale, have to worry about customers. And I told vendors, I said, you know what? I promise you, Saturday is going to be the greatest gift that we can give you as individuals putting this show together, because you are going to get the opportunity to just experience why you got into this hobby in the first place. Not worried about money, not worried about transactions, not worried about packing up, setting up, any of that. You're just going to get to enjoy the hobby, enjoy the culture. And that's what happened. So Saturday, we have a series of talks, discussions, honestly. And whenever you hear educational talk, you think, I'm going to be fighting to stay awake. No. That's not how this operates. Instead, we have someone speak for about 20 minutes on whatever the topic is. And we don't make it species specific, because we may all like colubrids, but let's say someone's going to come up and just talk about indigo snakes. If you don't keep indigos, you don't have any plan to keep indigos, maybe that topic, that's not as interesting for you. So we avoid species specific, and instead we go for topical conversations that affect all of us. Problem feeders, egg binding, things like that, so that it's something that really all of us have a stake in. And so the presenters, they give their information over 20 to 30 minutes. And then what we do is Zach and I typically, we kind of go into show mode where we start asking questions. We start going back and forth with the presenter, but then before you know it, the entire room is in the conversation. The audience is asking questions. The audience is giving suggestions, giving their experiences, and it becomes this huge group discussion on the topic, and it's freaking great. Great. So they're not boring. They're not, you will like it. If you like reptiles, if you like colubrids, even if you don't keep colubrids, you could be a ball python person. You're not excluded. That's the thing. Colubridfest is not about exclusion, it's about inclusion. And it's just about celebrating this particular segment that is very special to so many of us. But let's keep going. So Saturday, at the end of the talks, which we've got some dynamite speakers that are lined up, I'm stoked. After the talks, we then will have the auction, and this year, an awards banquet. We're going to have this awards ceremony that we're now introducing. We've got, I believe it's 11 categories where we're going to get to celebrate, acknowledge, and give accolades to various colubrid breeders or just individuals in the colubrid community that have gone above and beyond. That whether it's innovation, whether it's a new species that they've brought to the hobby, whether it's their leadership within the community, just we want to recognize those who are doing fantastic things within the colubrid community in various categories. So that's a new piece. We didn't do that last year. That's happening this year, and that's freaking awesome. That's probably going to be my favorite new thing for Colubridfest year 2. So after the awards, we're going to do something that is very near and dear to my heart. So my co-host on CCR, Dr. Zach Loafman, and I, we created what's called the CCR Conservation Corp. And that is a 501c3 nonprofit that is solely dedicated to conservation.
Real conservation.
Absolutely. There's no paying salaries. The only expense that comes out of that fund is the electronic processing fees that come when a donation gets processed through Square. That's it. We don't take anything. Everything else is going straight to conservation. And by conservation, we're breaking that into 3 things. We're either doing, there's research grants that we're providing. We are developing future conservationists. So we've got individuals who are on their PhD thesis, whatever they're working through, we're helping them cover what they need covered in the field to get where they need to be to help conserve the reptiles, the colubrids that we're after. The third is eventually we will be able to purchase land that we can then set aside for non-development, because let's face it, we can want to protect these animals all we want to. We can do all the goody two-shoe stuff we want in the world, but it takes money and it takes land if we really want to protect anything. It's not over collection. That certainly can hurt a population, but nothing hurts a population more than loss of habitat. So those are the three avenues that the CCR Conservation Corp is looking to achieve. Well, what we do after the award ceremony is we are then going to get to do the auction. So we have a bunch of things that get donated. We auction off. There's cool animals that go. There's cool caging that goes. You never know what you're going to see at that auction. But all funds then go to the CCR Conservation Corp and get to do some really remarkable things with it. So now we're through Saturday. No animals have been sold. But I'll tell you what has been done. For the last day and a half, you're going to have a huge group of people that have been living and breathing colubrid talk. So by Sunday morning, they are chomping at the freaking bit to get in there and see these animals. And there's no doubt about it.
Oh,
and I'm gonna
yeah.
I had to take people out of the room last year. I'm like, hey, get out.
It was insane they were so pumped for it. And, and again, vendors were nervous, right, Micky? They were nervous. Like, how am I going to make enough money on a one-day show to justify, the hotel rooms and all this at this brand new first-year show, which that makes a lot of vendors nervous, myself included. Brand new shows scare me because it's, you're rolling the dice sometimes.
They scare me too.
I bet they do. So we end up, the doors open, and you know what? And we're not even going to pretend that it flooded. We're not going to pretend that this was a huge show when it comes to the number of people through the door that first year. We didn't expect it to be. But what did happen is deli cups stacked as high as they could carry them, walking through the show. It was every table. Let's be honest, guys. Every show we've ever gone to, when you're walking through, there's a certain number of tables that you just walk past. And it's not saying anything negative about the breeder. It's just, I'm not interested in those, right? I'm not interested. Okay, another ball python table, not to knock ball pythons, but that's what we see the most of. Or I'm not into that kind of lizard. Or, frogs are cool, but I'm not getting any. So there's tables you walk past. At Colubridfest, it took me forever to get through that show. Because, you're looking at every damn cup. You know what I'm saying? Everything there is so cool, and it's right in my wheelhouse.
Well, and you see what Eric just said there? It's his biggest sale.
And he wasn't the only one. I had multiple vendors come up and say, I just did better in this one day than I've done at every Tinley I've ever been to.
Uh-huh.
It was insane. And it's funny because I didn't even feel it. I was moving around and talking to everybody and checking all the tables. And I had my group, from Metazotics running our tables. And I come up and I look at numbers and I'm like, holy wow. Oh, you guys are doing great over here. So, it was just. I'm
going to leave again.
Yeah. I'm going to go spend some of that money. So, yeah, it was incredible for everybody. And so not only were the sales fantastic from a vendor standpoint, it's how many of the attendees are walking through thrilled because they are seeing animals that you don't see anywhere else, even at the big shows. Because you may see the coolest new morph of that one species at the big show or whatever, but I can tell you this was the very first show that I can think of that I saw a dozen Rain's rat snakes for nada. You're seeing so many of the oddballs, the kukris, so many incredible colubrid species that you don't see at shows because most people don't have to go to shows to sell those. Everything sells so fast online because they're so rare, but these individuals wanted to be there. They wanted to come experience this, and they made it special. They made it special. I don't want to hype up like any one vendor. I don't think that that's necessarily important, but I'm going to point out one just because to me it was special. The reason why that they're coming. So John Michaels from Black Pearl, he's huge on indigos, crebos. I mean, that Black Pearl, that's the place when you want those species. And John only does, I believe, 2 shows a year, maybe 3, all of which are in California because that's his home state. He can drive to them and be back in his own bed that night. And, he sells things like Eastern indigos, so he doesn't have to worry about his permits if he's selling them within his home state. However, he loved everything he heard about Colubridfest so much. Black Pearl's going to be there because he wants to be a part of this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's important. That means a lot to me, and again, it's not just him. We had several California people from last year there at the first, and that was exciting. I mean, we had like John Lasseter come up we have people driving because the hurricane was moving up through the country during the travel to Colubridfest, and it made it all the way up to Indiana. And we had people driving through that. We had Joe from the Colubrid Corruption podcast, a car breaking down, going through a hurricane, driving 20-something hours, whatever. It still got up there and made it. Yeah. So that was it. It's so freaking crazy how many people from all across the country. And this time, we're even going to have people from out of country coming for this show. So it's something special.
And you kind of said a little bit about it with you did, but you didn't. When you had kind of mentioned on the ball python side of things, what I'm most excited about is being able to get involved in the colubrid community. Mm-hmm. I'd love to say that all the various species are together and we're all in one lump sum, but unfortunately, different aspects, people got different emotions, feelings, whatever. I'm excited, and Clint, I don't care how many people show up, it's going to be the right people in that room, and that's the community. And like you said, Micky put it all out on the line to make this happen. And I don't know that a lot of people know, but Micky's pretty deep in the colubrid scene too. He's been around for a fat minute. So I love it. I love it. Ball pythons went insane, and I stand up for ball python guys. I'm a ball python guy, but I'm a reptile guy. I've got my large colubrids and stuff like that I love too. But it's just different, and I'm super stoked for that. And one thing I wanted to ask you, Clint, because in the beginning you had mentioned, the overall feel of the room. Basically you said the vibe. Yep. And something that got me going was, the vibe in the room was kind of a lot like this right here, wasn't it?
It was.
I wasn't sure, but I felt like when I saw this, that said a lot. There's a lot going on there, brother.
There was, man. I'll tell you, it's funny because we had a lot of big personality in that room.
Oh yeah.
There was a lot of very opinionated people. You had old timers, you had up and comers, you had everything in between, you had hardcore breeders, you had first time keepers, you had it all through there. The thing was, everyone that had a big personality brought it in the room, but they left their ego outside. And that's what made it absolutely beautiful, because you did have people in there who could absolutely go, I've been doing it like this the whole time, and no. Everyone was open-minded. Everyone wanted to hear what everybody else had to say and think about it. I tell you what, I remember watching Amy Zirkle. That is a woman I respect the hell out of right there.
Yeah.
I mean, she has been in the game forever, her and Rob both. And, that's you want to talk about a colubrid, power couple there.
No, I love the Zergles.
Oh, absolutely.
We got a bunch of our Asian stuff from them.
Yep. And, I love anytime I get to see them, spend time with them, chat with them, it's a great time. And I remember watching Amy taking notes. She had a notebook out and she was taking notes during the conversations, during the talks, because it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it and how good you are, you can always learn something new. You can always learn a better way. And she was an example of that. And that's what I mean it's no one, even when something, like, I don't even want to say there were disagreements, because that's not how it was approached. It was different ideas of doing the same thing is how everybody saw it. And so again, it wasn't none of the combative crap. It wasn't none of the egos. It wasn't anything like that. And yeah, I love that. Eric cracks me up. Eric Westmoreland, when you hear the rest of this, the memes you put together with us, man.
He gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning and starts hammering the memes out.
He does, and they're freaking great. But it's one of those things where it's like trying to, as funny as this is, it's like if you really tried to describe love to someone who's never felt it, because that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to describe a feeling of an event that it's really hard to wrap around, because, when you think about it, it's like, okay, you're around people who like snakes like you do. Yeah. Okay. Everybody had a good time, cut up. But it was so much more than that. Everyone walked out of there knowing they were just a part of something special, very special. And it was in a way taking the old school, before social media, back when the only way people ever got to experience a reptile community was actually face to face. And it was taking that while bringing all the new ideas and all the new things we've learned and technologies and all that into it. So it was great. And, you mentioned being a ball python guy. I have a whole ball python room, yeah, understand this. I still have tons of ball pythons. I mean, that's what I was playing with most of the day today, was trying to figure out what the hell some of these were that I've just hatched out. But so I dig ball pythons too. I think that, right. I think that if there's anything that we would say, it's not about the animals when it comes to that, but there are different cultures within different segments of the hobby. Like we can talk about Alterna, gray banded king snakes. Those who are into gray banded king snakes, those are the most locality anal people you're ever going to meet. It's not just the county. They want to know the rock that you found. Right. Exactly. It's hardcore.
Did it come from the north side of the tracks or the south side?
Exactly. And that's, hey, it's cool. It's fine. And with the ball python culture, because of how large the ball python culture got, and because there was so much financial gain that could be, involved in there. Now, given that gave us a whole lot of stuff within the community. There's so many products and so many organizations and things that would not exist if the ball python market did not boom like it has. But it has caused a certain piece within that community that is very, I don't even want to call them financially driven, but I'll tell you, they can identify 5 morphs in a ball python, but they can't tell you what the snake is that they just found in their backyard. There's a difference. Right.
Nice,
no, I'm not being mean. That's not an insult. It's saying there's a difference in individuals. You know what I mean? Again, not a shot. Colubrid people typically grew up, and the reason they're colubrid people, because they grew up catching these snakes in their backyard. And none of us were catching ball pythons in our backyard. Right?
No.
So that's what makes it different. So again, not knocking ball python people. I love you guys just as much as the rest. It's just understanding that this was an event that helped bring us back away from the money. Bring us back to the little kids running in with a garter snake in their pocket.
I love it.
It was more that. That's the vibe.
Really what I felt like all weekend, Clint.
Yeah.
Those talks, like I've been around the industry for a long time. I've done tons of research and things like that. Those talks, I learned so much from those talks. And then just to like be out on the show floor on Sunday and see all these amazing animals from like these breeders that I've been looking up to for years.
Yes.
You know, I felt like a kid at Colubridfest. Like it was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and I think my favorite part of that weekend was that auction that we did on Saturday night. You know, I've done tons and tons of auctions, and to know where that money was going and seeing the people that were using that money for the research, that was a game changer for me. You know, because I remember those boys, whenever we told them what we raised for them, they didn't even know how to react.
I think that we were able to raise, it was probably somewhere around 6 or 7 times what they had envisioned was going to be raised, you know, that project. Because what we ended up doing with that money was it went towards a hognose snake study in Iowa, which, although hognose snakes make up 40% of the colubrid market, so they're definitely the most represented colubrid in the hobby, in certain areas, they are getting very low in numbers in the wild. And there's a spot in Iowa that they are very low. And there's a study going on right now by Zach, his team with West Liberty, being funded from Colubridfest. And they are, not only are they learning more about the hognose there, they're learning about all of the interacting species around them. And so it's really cool what they're getting to put together to help not only protect this species in that area, but they're going to be able to take that knowledge of how these species are intertwined and be able to utilize it on other conservation efforts. So it's fun. And I mean, they're really making some progress out there already. Really cool stuff.
And that's what's cool, you know, is being able to actually do something that makes a difference. You know, so I'm super excited this year. This year I'm going to try to triple what we raised last year. I think we can do it.
I think we can too. And I mean, and the great thing is, so another thing about the CCR Conservation Fund that makes it a little different is we try to really flex what each of us are good at separately, and it makes this fund a little different. So obviously I'm the business side, right? You know, this is where my mind works, how the numbers work, how we can generate bigger, more, get that into the pot. Then Zach, it's not only about, you know, the research grants, and it's his connections within the academic world. Instead of us just knowing about the big, sexy conservation efforts where, you know, hey, yeah, $50,000 would be wonderful if, you know, we got a $50,000 donation to this effort. Well, instead, Zach knows about the projects where $2,000 makes a massive difference to that project.
Huge impact. That's
exactly.
Good.
And so we're able to help those kinds of projects because we know about them, because he's so, you know, dynamic and intertwined in all this. And I'm going to tell you what, and something that not everyone knows, and Mickey, I don't even know if you're aware of this, but because of the money that was raised at Colubridfest, it has opened the eyes and the ears of so many in the academic world to herpetoculturists and to understanding how necessary the hobby is and how important and vital the hobbyist can be in growing conservation efforts, in fundraising, in making a difference, instead of just relying. I mean, let's face it, right now, federal funding, not really easy to get a hold of anymore, right? You know, that's been axed all over the country. But whenever the funding is coming from the private sector, nobody can take that away. So because of what we've been able to accomplish through Colubridfest, many in the academic world have their eyes and ears open now and are starting to look at the hobbyist in a different light. And that's one of the goals that CCR has always had, is bridging the gap between the academic and the hobbyist. And Colubridfest, that was another huge step in making that happen.
You know, something I really liked about what you were saying there, Clint, was like when you referenced, sure, we could find an organization that needs 50 grand or a couple that need 2,000. Being able to help multiple people doing multiple things, not an animal doesn't know that this one is considered more special to someone else. It doesn't know that. So being able to impact and help more of a grand scale, to me personally, in my opinion, that's more stand up. It's I love that. I love that. And plus, like you said, some of these organizations, $2,000 would be a superhero for them because they don't have any funding. None.
Right.
None. You know, it's them and a couple other people that care.
Yeah, 100%. And then you think about, okay, if instead of, you know, one big $50,000 donation somewhere, if we're doing 25 $2,000 donations that make this difference, how many more people does that affect and influence? And because you help them achieve the goals they're trying to achieve within conservation, you just double down in their mind that what they're doing matters.
Exactly.
And it continues to spread it. So we can help those 5 people that are involved at that $50,000 project, or we can help the 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 people involved in these 25, that then it spreads. It's spreading.
And it's more than that too. I mean, it's contagious because not if these people are successful, when they are successful with whatever their venture is, that gives them somewhat of a platform to possibly start raising money because they now have a success story. Plus, you said the confidence boost. And you can't replace that sort of drive in somebody when you give them the oxygen they need. It can go a long, long way.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, and I think that this goes in tandem where, you know, for example, typically whenever you're seeing an auction at any expo, the proceeds are usually going to US Ark. Again, great organization. We all should support it. You know, I know that the Show Me Show, Mickey and you guys are doing it. Metazotics obviously supports US Ark. We all support US Ark. Understand, though, that's only one half of where we need protection. That's covering legislation. That's what that's doing. That's protecting our ability to keep these animals. But what we also need to fight at the same time is the ability to protect those animals in the wild.
100%.
And
100%.
And it's funny because I think that eventually we get to a point where we still enjoy seeing the snakes in a deli cup. We still enjoy seeing what morphs that we produce. And, you know, it's still exciting. But here's the crazy thing. I went on a California herping trip. Myself, Zach, Roy Arthur Blodgett, Kerwin, and Kayla Martin went on this huge California herping trip over, I think, 5 or 6 days, starting in Northern California and went all the way down to the Mexican border. And it was amazing. And one of the coolest things that we found, to me, was a California king snake. And, you know, here's something I see every day. You've seen them, you know, thousands and thousands of them through the shows, but to see one in the wild, to find one in the freaking wild was amazing. Well, absolutely amazing.
That's a really cool thing that you just said. I feel like that speaks a lot about who Clint is inside. You're still that little kid that you guys talk about when you go into Colubridfest. And I'm just as excited when I flip a rock and I find something under it. It's why I still do it even as an adult. And I have my friends that I'm going to use air quotes are regular people or whatever. They're not reptile people. And they're like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I enjoy it. You go to car shows and nothing against that. I love cars, but I'm about to take my shoes off and get my feet muddy, and I'm getting in the creek and I'm going to go see what I can find. It's what I enjoy.
Oh, 100%. You actually just remind me of 2 things to share. First, it's funny because around here, one of our natives are Eastern black king snakes, and they're my favorite local find. I love been my favorite local snake since I was a kid. We've got a pair of locals, that are here in the shop that we just have on display, so people know, hey, this is something you can find in your backyard. And it's funny because you think, okay, I've seen these, I see them every day right here in the shop. I've seen them all my life, around when field herping, but I've got 10 laid out right behind the building here in the shop, where every now and then I just, I'm going to go out there and see, just to go flip. And that we have
He's
king
saying
snakes
something
back there.
profound.
And it's just something for me to just walk out there. We don't throw the trash away without looking under a piece of tin to see if there's anything back there. I mean, it's, if we go to the dumpster,
So I don't know. He's having a little bit of problems. We'll see when he ends up popping back up. So yeah, dude, the Colubridfest. Mickey, while we got just a minute, Clint was kind of touching base on this, but you want to tell everybody about what you've got going on here with the Best of Awards stuff?
Oh yeah, tomorrow on the Show Me Reptile Show Facebook page, we're going to start, announcing some of the nomination categories. One of them is going to be, best new captive colubrid species. We've got like the best hognose breeder of the year, Lamprepeltis breeder of the year. The guys that breed the large colubrid, we got an award for them. We've got something that's really cool is the Colubrid Keeper / Breeder Lifetime Achievement Award. That's going to be super cool. I'm really excited about this because, a lot of people, they do this for passion. I know a lot of times selling like corn snakes and stuff like that. I was wholesaling those things for like $8 and $10. Wasn't doing this to make a bunch of money. I did it because I enjoyed it. So for some of these guys to get recognized for their hard work and their commitment and their passion, I just think it's great. And I'm really honored to be able to facilitate this for these guys.
And some of those guys go back decades.
Some of these guys have been breeding snakes longer than I've been alive.
Yeah. You're talking some serious time frame, dude. Colubrids go back to the beginning, man.
Yeah, you talk to some of these older guys and oh yeah, I produced those back in 75 or 74.
Yep.
Holy cow. I wasn't even a twinkle in my dad's eye then.
Yeah.
Holy moly. So, no, we've got a bunch of different categories. And like I said, we're going to start releasing them slowly over the next week. So everybody gets an opportunity to get nominated in their section. And, the team, we've been working on a lot of new stuff for Colubridfest this year. It's going to be a totally different event than what we had last year. Should I go ahead and talk about some of that, Clint?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Oh God, and I want it. I want it.
I would say one thing: it's not going to be a totally different event. It's going to be an amplified event. That's what I want to say.
It's going to be more gooder than last year. So we are going to be adding a workshop. I've got some team members that are going to handle that. So on Sunday at about 1:00, we're going to host a workshop to build a naturalistic colubrid enclosure. What else here? I'm looking at my notes.
Yeah, don't stop now.
Oh yeah, we are going to do the kids corner during the expo. Working on finding somebody to do that on Saturday as well. So folks can bring their kids out and we'll have an educational and activity area for them guys. Not going to say babysitter, but that's kind of what it is.
It helps.
Well, I want everybody to be able to come out and enjoy this event. Something else that we're doing. So the mixer, we're actually planning the mixer this year. And we're talking to a pretty big brewery / restaurant here in Missouri about sponsoring that mixer on Friday night. So the girls here are working really hard on planning that mixer, so it goes off super nice for everybody.
Nice.
And I think we're doing some talks and stuff like that during the mixer as well, right before it.
Yeah, I think Zach is doing a type of presentation during that. And I think there was two different. I'm about to say there's two. I'm forgetting what the other one was now. Yes, sexing and probing. Yep. So yeah, I mean, so it's more reason to get to the mixer. You know, you're going to learn some things. And
I need that. I need that in my life.
A lot of people need that in their life. You'd be amazed how many snake breeders can't sex snakes.
Well, the colubrids, I'm just a little bit timid and gun shy. It's a little bit different than the ball pythons, so that is very interesting to me. So I'm excited about that personally.
It's going to be neat, and also look, keep your eyes open because I know that we'll be releasing the speaker list, what the topics are, who's talking. That'll be coming out, and then we will actually be releasing like bios and things on the speakers. So, if you don't know a name, you'll end up learning why they were chose, to talk about what they're going to be talking about. And that panel, that list it's nice. I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be some good stuff. So,
yeah, it's going to be a really solid event, and if your schedule doesn't work for you to make it this year, if you've got like a funeral or a wedding that you can't postpone or anything like that, we're already starting to plan next year's too. So
yep, absolutely.
So
dude, don't do that. I don't want to talk about that one yet. I don't want to rush through this, dude. I want to marinate and get all of the pre-concert hype euphoria. I'm stoked, guys. I'm so hyped.
So, the other thing I was going to mention is when you talked about someone who's not into reptiles, right?
Yeah.
So check this out. You want to know how great the first Colubridfest was? So I have a buddy, name's Ricky. And Ricky and we were roommates for 10 years. Yeah, that's not Ricky, but we love each other just as much. And Ricky is about as easygoing and I mean, he's the easiest guy to get along with I've ever met. We lived together for 10 years and we never had a single argument. Who does that? Right. So
not married couples I know.
Right.
So I was going to say, you could have been happy with this gentleman.
Oh, I'm telling you, that's what I said. He's my heterosexual life mate. I'm telling you. So,
no.
So he took those several days off and came to Colubridfest
it's like
with me.
He's not supposed to tell this story, Mickey.
What's happening? Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Am I good? Okay. So Ricky is not a reptile person at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. But he wanted to come to Colubridfest because he knew how much work we were all putting into this and how big of a deal it was to me. He wanted to come just to help out, help me set up, and do that kind of thing and just whatever he can do over the course of the weekend. So, okay. And so he ends up at the end of that weekend, we are driving back and we're talking about just how great it was. And he said two things that were just profound to me. He said, what this has done is it has made me realize I'm not passionate about anything. And it was because he just watched and felt the passion that everyone there had for what we were doing and what we were involved in. And he then said, and I'll tell you what, I am going to be back to every one of these every year. And he's never kept a reptile. He does not care about reptiles, but he had such an amazing time that weekend that he's flat out said, I'm coming back every single year. That was great. And that to me, you don't even have to like reptiles and have that good of a time at this. That says something.
So somebody was asking Mickey, it looks like it's Eric. He wanted to know when a vendor list might be getting compiled.
It generates on the website as people sign up. So there's a vendors list up there. It's building. I wouldn't, if you haven't signed up yet, I wouldn't wait too much longer. I'd get in there and get your tables. We do have a room block. It's in the official Colubridfest group. We're trying to make sure that all the vendors get rooms in the room block before, the general public starts getting in there and snagging up all those rooms. And Clint, the city up there in Fort Wayne is super excited about us being up there. I've had a couple of meetings with like the people in the Chamber of Commerce and things like that. The city is just so excited for us to be there. And that's the kind of energy we're bringing.
Oh, and that's great. And for those who are coming from out of town, coming from out of state, why we picked Indiana. We've not even talked about that because you may ask, why in the hell are you doing it in Indiana of all places, right? So here's why. One, the colubrid laws in Indiana are favorable. It's basically you can't sell any normal looking native species, which, that's going to eliminate some things. Really, the only that I see it really affecting us are no normal black rat snakes, which you don't see sold that often anyway. No normal bull snakes.
Right.
There's some others, but those are the ones that really I would point out. But you can sell morphs, no problem. Also, they allow a lot of the rear fang venomous species. Now, there's going to be some they don't. Now, I've put a list out there on the official Colubridfest fan page on what I know for a fact so far are approved. I've got that documented from DNR. But there's many more because they don't do a just flat out yes and no on everything blanketed statement. It's you say a species, they go research it and decide whether it's a yes or no. And so the whitelist kind of gets compiled as it goes. So
I love that regulation.
Yes, I do too. So it's very favorable, for what we want to do with colubrids out there. Then number two, they call Indiana the crossroads of America for a reason. It's really easy to get to. It's not expensive to fly in and out of Fort Wayne, or if you want to save a little bit of money, you can fly into Indianapolis and drive up to Fort Wayne. But it's not an expensive flight in and out. It's an easy drive. If you're anywhere in the Midwest, getting there, it's not, super tough at all. And once you're there, everything's reasonable. It's not California. It's not Florida. It's not that, New York. It's not that kind of money. It's not Dallas kind of money. Everything is affordable. I remember the California people last year, they went out to dinner and they were like, that's it? It only costs this? And then they saw the plates come out because they're not used to these Midwest portions. You know what I'm saying? So exactly. We're this big for a reason, corn fed.
Didn't have an accident.
That's right. So it's, you're not going to break the bank with your travel and your travel expenses compared to some of the other cities that you may go to. So it really turns out to be a good state for us. And, when Micky had suggested Fort Wayne over Indianapolis, at first I was hesitant because I didn't know if people would feel the same. But it was an overwhelming, we don't care where you put it at this point, we're going. And it was a boom. And so now to have this huge venue that we can grow into and continue to take more and more space up, to have a city that wants us there. And Show Me already has a successful show in this venue. So there's already a base just there locally waiting to come in. There's so many positives on why it should be where we're having it now.
Yeah, I was really bummed, but Indianapolis just wasn't the fit for us.
Right.
That parking. Whew.
Oh, yeah. There was we had a lot of learnings at that show.
Learned a lot of hard lessons that weekend.
We certainly did, no doubt about it. So, but hey, we told everybody there, it's the things that were wrong about the first Colubridfest. We didn't hide from them. We didn't pretend that they didn't happen. We flat out said the parking situation sucked. The venue was expensive. Having to pay for electricity on top of that was just ridiculous. the amount. I mean, so there are a lot of things that we were like, okay, we didn't like this part at all. While the feeling was a huge success, here's some of the nuts and bolts that we're going to tweak for next year. And we've done it. Anything that was wrong last year has been addressed and has been fixed. We may find some bumps this year. I was talking to Zach earlier about the awards, and we were talking about different things. I said, I think the awards are going to be, since our first year doing those, it's going to be the learning lesson on those this year. We're going to, afterwards, we're going to go, you know what? We should do this different next year. This one piece, but we don't know it until we go through it. And then we learn and we keep getting better.
And what's exciting to me is, it's the evolution. And this is just 1 year into it. Can you imagine what this can be in 5 years, 10 years?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Because you said, there's the learning curve. We're trying to find base station and we think we've got it locked in.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. And I think every year we want everyone to walk in there with an expectation, but then to leave with that expectation more than met. I already knew what to expect, but damn it, they surprised me again. There was always, we're going to continue to make it better. We want to continue to tweak it, and we solicit feedback. We want to know, what is it that you want to hear? What is it you want to see? What is it that we want to do different? And because here's the thing, it's not our show. It's Mickey's money, but it's not our show. Big man's paying for it, but it's not our show. It's the community's show. It's the community's event. And so that's why it's so damn different than anything else, is because we talked, the three of us, when we were first putting this together, this wasn't some marketing adventure. It wasn't some, business thing. This was, we want something that when we're old and can barely walk, that we're proud as hell that we were a part of and made it happen. And that we can leave to future generations to keep doing it. That's what we're doing. That's what's happening.
That's exactly why I do what I do every weekend. You know what I mean? That's the whole basis behind Show Me. And that's why I was super excited to be able to do this with you guys, because this is more of what I want to do anyways with my time, is, the education, community building, and all of that stuff. Anybody could do a reptile expo. It's not rocket science. But what we're doing with this is totally different.
Yeah, 100%. And it's whenever so much of our life and lives have been affected and intertwined with reptiles and with people in the reptile community, this is how we can give back. And it's, you think when people say give back, they usually think of, you taking money and handing it to some organization or to someone in need. And, while yes, that helps an individual, I know the greatest change and impact we can have in this world is influence. And if we're able to influence the older generations, our generation and the next generation, all at the same time, if we're able to influence those minds and those hearts to making this community continue to grow together instead of finding reasons to say that we're divided, that is important. That is how we make a difference, right there.
That's hard to bring all of that together, too.
It is. It is.
That's
hard personalities to work with, but it can be done.
Mm-hmm. And it's, when everybody walks in with the same thought that, we're here with the same goals, and we may have differences of opinions on how to get to those goals, but it's, we all want the same thing. And so long as we can all treat each other with respect along the way, every one of us is going to walk out of here smarter than we walked in. And that's what it was about, man. And it's, and I know everybody who's listening to this is probably thinking, Jesus, I didn't realize Clint Bartley was such a mushy mother. But man, if there's anything I love in my life, it's this kind of thing right here. It's this passion. This is, and it's, and even watching the speakers, seeing giving these individuals a platform to share their expertise. So it's not just like these are super popular individuals that some of them can be individuals you may not have known their names before Colubridfest, but afterwards you're amazed how many people do know their names because they walked up there with something important to share with the community, and we all soaked it in. So that's another piece right there. Yes, it's giving that platform, giving that and it's so you're not taking credit in any way for their achievement. You're giving them the ability to cast out their voice, and it's exciting. It's great watching that happen. So,
one of my favorite things to watch happen is whenever like you watch a ball python guy fall in love with colubrids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a fun thing to kind of watch. It's kind of like watching somebody pick up their very first snake. They grab a milk snake and they're like, oh my God, this thing's so awesome.
Yeah. Hey, something we didn't even talk about that happened from the last Colubridfest that I thought was really damn cool. So, Andrew, a regular customer here at Metazotics, and he's become a good friend of mine, at this point too. So he is a engineer for we'll just say one of the most popular archery companies in existence. Won't say the name just out of respect for him, but he has that engineer mind. It's amazing the kind of things this man can create. So he was at Colubridfest, and during the talk from Dr. Whitman, veterinarian, who was discussing egg binding, he told us that basically we're all using the wrong damn nesting boxes, because most of us have clear Sterilite or Tupperware type containers with a hole cut out, but they're clear or they're opaque. And he says one of the things that kind of causes undue stress and can lead to some egg binding. And because in nature, these snakes are not laying eggs where they're in light. They are in complete darkness. They are, under things. They feel completely secure when doing this. So we should have blacked out nest boxes. That's what we should be utilizing. And it's not going to eliminate egg binding, but it is going to reduce it in some cases. And it kind of became the joke that we were sending out. Friends don't let friends use clear nest boxes. So Andrew took that to heart, and Andrew went and he designed you don't just think a black box with a hole in it. No. This man's too smart for that. He designed this nest box that the hole goes in and up. So when you put all of your nesting material inside of it, none of it's falling out the hole like we all experience in our, tubs and in our cages. So you're not getting any bedding brought in, any bedding falling out, and it's completely blacked out with a lid on top. It's fantastic. He brought it in, asked my opinion. I gave him some, ideas on tweaking, how to make it stackable, different things like that. And now Metazotics has its own completely blacked out nest box available in 2 sizes. And so, yeah, I think it's cool as hell that, we get this product and it's got Metazotics, etched in the side. But the coolest damn thing was we went from creating Colubridfest to this dynamite talk about egg binding from a veterinarian to an engineer so impacted by that talk that he went and put his brain to work, and we now have a product on the market because of Colubridfest.
That's cool.
That betters the husbandry of the animals that we're working with. It's so damn neat, how do you not get excited about that kind of thing?
Right. That's cool.
So, I'm going to have to get some of those from you, Clint.
You need to check them out, man. It's great. I keep getting messages that people keep messaging about, hey, I just had my black milk lay in them, man. I love them. These things are great. And so it's a really, really cool product. And I'll tell you what, and we're cranking them out. I've got him manufacturing a lot of them because we plan on bringing quite a few to Colubridfest as well. So they will be available out there. And they're available on the website if you want to get them early.
Awesome.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. That's all I can really say. I'm just super excited. I can't wait. It's what I'm looking forward to. So
Yeah.
I think we put it all out there. I can tell you there's a lot of big shows coming up over the next 4 months or whatever. But I'm most excited for Show Me September, dude. We've got the Opryland, we've got Colubridfest, and I'm going to some other shows between that, but I am living for September.
Oh, 100%, man.
So that's all I've got, guys. Clint, thank you so much for coming out and just being honest and legit about what it was to you and just being real, man.
Hey, man, I loved coming on, man. You guys are great. Thanks for having me. And I look so forward to seeing you guys at Colubridfest for many years to come.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and end it, and I'm going to go ahead and bust the Colubridfest reel one more time for everybody. Thanks, everybody, for swinging through and joining us tonight.
What's Colubridfest?
You understand now?
Peace out, Pharrell. I'll see you there.
There it is, guys.
Awesome.
see you there.
Peace.
See ya.